as the discussion goes on, just gives me more and more hope of a new world where Russia and the US, Russia and NATO and Ukraine and Europe are at peace. And that could lead to potentially a multipolar world. But the concern there is that President Trump, who's seen as a president of peace, is also very focused, in some people's eyes, on US global hegemony and America first. And we saw that with his recent threats on BRICS, any members joining BRICS. So my question to you is, how do you think that world will look like, considering that Trump is looking at reaching a peace agreement with Russia, respects a lot of the Russian values, respects President Putin, and has respected President Putin for a while, but also is heavily focused on American hegemony, global hegemony?
So, in my opinion, multipolarity, and that is very important that Marco Rubio recently has accepted the fact that we are living in a multipolar world. Globalist liberals, they were furious against that. In all the conferences when I met the previous administration representatives on the international conference, they always were radically against multipolarity. They pretended to organize the world under their rule. Globalism is about that. It is not a multipolarity, that is one world government in the hand of this deep state, this globalist mafia, internationalism. So they were against multipolarity. Now, if Marco Rubio, if United States accepts multipolarity, we have already won. We have already won together, so we accept the possibility of the existence of different centers of the decision. And we accept the possibility to the nations, the states, civilizational states, or the group of the states to follow their own agenda, to defend their sovereignty, and to affirm their interests and values. So, I see no reason at all why in this multipolarity United States of America should not have leading role. So you are the great country, the very powerful state, you have very brilliant society, very dynamic, you have weak side as anybody, but you have very powerful and very strong side in your history, in your psychology. So why not to become leading power? But there is the condition, one most important condition: let the other to be great as well again. Let the Europe try to do the same, make Europe great again. That doesn't mean to wage the tail in the front of the American master. It is the possible restoration of the European sovereignty, independence, geopolitical power. The same for Russia, the same for India. Make India great again. That was the slogan of Narendra Modi. We need to accept as well, for example, we have very good relations with Great China. We consider China as very important pole in the global politics, and we respect them. We have very good relations with them. I think Trump has different opinion, and maybe he is a bit afraid of the BRICS because of the role of China. That is, I agree, one of the central role in this alternative organization of multipolarity. But let us define the conditions, the balances inside of multipolar worlds in the competition. For example, Trump proposes American hegemony. I see nothing wrong in American hegemony, but you need to prove you are capable for that. It is better to do that in a peaceful way. For example, create Greater America, include Canada or Greenland if they agree, or if majority at least agree. So we have nothing against that, but we preserve, we defend as well our right to do the same, to make great again, to reinforce our security, to preserve and grant our safety. So maybe there will be conflicts. That is normal, but we need to accepting the right to everybody to be great again. We should accepting this right. We need to use all our power to decide the problem peacefully. So avoid the conflict, avoid the war, because where the war is possible, the peace is possible. We need to remember that realist saying. So you could not create the world without possibility of war. So because without war, no peace. But the differences and multipolarity doesn't mean necessary absence of peace. It is not necessary clashes. It is not necessary wars. It could be peaceful coexistence coexistence of the great powers. All that, but the real structure, a real picture, real architecture of this new multipolar world depends on our capacity to be on the level of our claims. So let everybody try to establish their hegemony, but the balance of the power will show who is the leader, who is the second one, who is the third, or we could conclude some basic rules respecting each other that nobody should overcome or transgress. So I think this multipolarity could be seen from different angles. From American angles, from Chinese, from Russian, from Indian, from European, but we need to take in consideration all the opinions, all the standpoints, and try to reconcile them, because that will be the real universalism, when we hear everybody participating. That the same multipolarity is embedded in X.com project. There is not only one power that dictates to everyone how they should think. Think as you is thinking, think as you want, say whatever you want. That will be the rule, that will be the beginning of the mutual hearing and understanding.
Look, I'm a believer in decentralizing power. So I think on a global scale, decentralizing power by having more than one empire kind of removes the risk of having one country or even one president or one leader be able to control an entire planet, which is probably the most dystopian outcome. But historically, sir, we've seen, in theory, a multipolar world makes sense. But historically, having more than one empire generally leads to war. Doesn't that concern you, that having a Chinese empire, a Russian empire, an Indian empire, an American empire could lead to a lot of overlap and eventually lead to conflict? And one could argue even Ukraine is a result of that. Russia's trying to establish its own influence, its own sphere of influence. NATO was trying to do the same with the US and expand it eastwards. And that led to the Ukraine war, as two powers are trying to establish their influence.
So not necessarily the world of empires immediately means conflicts. For example, there was such situation when there existed different empires before Columbus. Empires. There was the Ottoman Empire, Russian Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire in the Europe, Chinese Empire, the great Indian states, and some big African states as well. There existed a kind of African empires, something like that, or Indochina Empire, Japanese Empire. So the world of empires doesn't mean necessarily war between them. They coexisted. The conflicts could happen between everybody, but when the order of empires was exchanged by orders of the national state, national colonial state. The wars between these national states were much bigger, much more radical, much more savage than among the empires. So I think when globalists came, they declared there will be universal peace, there will be no national states, there will be one government, there will be nothing, and they immediately started the war against those who didn't accept their rule. So no political system, no geopolitical system could grant absolute peace. It is unrealistic. So the conflicts, the war, are possible, and we are speaking not about the war or peace or war. We are speaking about what international order should be there. And I think the war in Ukraine was not about to secure for Russia our zone of influence, but that was the kind of our response against aggressive strategy of the globalists, of the liberals. They have artificially created neo-Nazi regime in Ukraine. They prohibit any kind of nationalism and patriotism in their own countries, but they make an exception. They made an exception for Ukraine because they hated us so much. That was totally artificial case. So we could have good relations with independent, sovereign Ukraine, or with the condition they should stay neutral, at least, not hostile. But the globalists in Washington, in Brussels, they ignited this hatred to us artificially. So they have transformed Ukrainian population in the kind of fanatics who hated Russia with no reason at all. That was totally artificial, and that was purely ideological psychological operation organized by Soros, by networks of globalists against us and against Ukrainians themselves. That was not a kind of zone between European Empire or Western Empire and Russian Empire, because that was the if there will be the case, I think relations could be solved much easier. So, for example, everybody respect some red lines posted by two sides, and we could logically until the last developments, we could solve the problem, because Ukraine was not before this conflict, this war started, was not totally Russophobic as today. That was the result of special operation organized by globalists, and they should be responsible for that. And I think that, but at the same time, the multipolarity about which we are speaking now never existed as such. We had a national state, Westphalian system, we had bipolar world, we had unipolar moment, as Charles Krauthammer has said, but multipolar world order, it's something new, and it demands our imagery, our imagination. It demands our projects, our thought oriented to the future. We need to imagine first these multipolar worlds and include in our imagination or our hope, desires, moral values. If we agree on this imagined plan, we will receive finally correct results that would satisfy everybody.